Questions?
It's good to see you guys. We're excited to get this started with our season, and excited to play a real formidable opponent. You know, I know that Coach has a lot of pride in offense, particularly, and the team in general, but it's going to be a challenge for us to play a team that can move the ball and score as well as this team, and the skill that they have and the talent and the ability that they have. And so today was our first practice of the week, and I thought it was a good one. And so we've got to be able to stack some days. I know guys are excited for it. We're healthy, and we're ready. Take any questions you guys got.
Dave, last year going into the season, you guys had the preseason prediction, that the media had put on you of being the Big 12 favorite, and the season, did not go up to expectation. This year, maybe there's less of that. Is that a good place to be where, the outside expectation isn't as high?
I think that there's such a kind of a will and a desire to win, and to not have last year kind of impact us or repeat itself. I think that more than anything is the main driver.
Dave, this is the 10th anniversary, or this Saturday will be the 10th anniversary of the opening of the stadium. Can you talk about just the significance of that, and maybe just, what the stadium has meant to you and the time you've been in there?
There's been some big games in that stadium, and there's been a lot of kind of powerful moments for Baylor fans in that stadium. I've been a part of a few. I would like to be a part of a lot more. I know that from a fan perspective, what's it going to be? Is it going to be like last year, or is it going to be all of that? So I think that first game has a lot to do, not all to do, but a lot to do with answering that question. And so I feel very purposeful about really starting off fast and having a good game to build it, so that we can get those types of games that we're talking about that have been really special in the past in that stadium.
Kind of going along those same lines, obviously the opener last year kind of let down. How do you kind of stay focused, even though you are projected as a heavy favorite in the season opener?
Yeah, I think there's such a I don't know. You wear I think what makes college football so entertaining is that it's kids, and then there's coaches and everybody else under just so much pressure. And human nature says that when things are going good, I feel good. When things are going bad, I'm not feeling so good. And so I think there's always that push, and for this particular game, that push is in the right spot for us. But I think, to dip into that either way is not something that you really want to make a living doing. You'd like it to be, hey, this is our process. This is what's important in this moment. This is what we got to get done today. This is our intentional purpose for this drill, this unit period, this practice, this meeting. And so it's always been that way for us. I think we've got a good understanding of that with the group that we got.
Coach, alongside those lines, this is where you're now on the home stretch, the week before the actual season opener. What changes as far as tempo goes? What changes as far as chemistry goes as you wind down to kick off on Saturday?
There is just, in talking to the defense this morning, I said that all of this, whether it was last year, this winter, this spring, this summer, all of this is for, this moment right now. And, in the past fall camp, here this last couple of weeks, we've shown a movie clip from The Three Amigos. There's a scene in there where Steve Martin's character gets shot, and they're actors, and they're thinking it's an act, and they're thinking that this village has hired them to act, and the villagers are trying to get back their village. They hired them for real, and it's a real fight and all this. And the I think it's El Guapo is the bandito, you know. And so Steve Martin's character gets shot and is upset about it and says, I'm bleeding and everything. And he goes to the bad guys and he goes, you know, you better watch it, mister, and this whole thing. And then he finds out that it's real bullets, and he goes back to the other two amigos and he goes, it's real. You know, this is real. They're trying to kill us. And so I think that was early in fall camp, that every day's got to be intentional, got to be purposeful. You know, this is real, you know. And so I mentioned that a couple times this morning to guys, and I think everyone gets it. And we all know what the prescription is.
Coach, winning at home was also another challenge that y'all faced last year. You kind of been honing in on the players, saying, hey, it's important that the fans also get a feel-good win in week 1?
I think it's important that we work hard every day, that we're focused, and that we're not complacent, and that we're detailing our work really strong. I think if we do all of that, those wins will come, and then the fans will be happy.
You have a lot of new faces on the offensive line this year, obviously a new offensive line coach. How is that group shaping up, and are there any guys that are kind of rising to the top for you in that group?
That group has been the most improved group, and so with Omar immediately comes to mind. Ryan Langell, I think those two are good examples. There's someone that's new, that's injected some life and some intensity and some toughness into the group, and then there's an old guy that's been kind of a young guy, kind of been on the side guy that's now in the middle of it and getting into scraps and fighting and clawing, and is kind of growing up. And so I think both those guys are, I think, both symbolic of the group. And so far so good. I think that Coach brings a real intellect and a purpose into the teaching, and I think they're connecting well with him right now.
Monterey talked about he had some big goals this year in his senior year. In a deep group like the receivers have, I guess, how good can he be and how can he stand out?
I think he's got to be consistent. I think we've seen glimpses of Monterey here and there, and it just hasn't been consistent. And maybe at times it hasn't been when it matters most. And so I think for a guy that's as talented as Monterey, and we all want the best for Monterey, there's a lot of room for growth there.
As far as the health of the team goes, how are guys like Matt Jones or Ketron doing? And then has anything popped up since the end of fall camp otherwise?
It's been strong so far, knock on wood. Healthy, and everyone's excited. Everyone's focused.
Going back to kind of the expectations from Monterey, just the offense as a whole, how excited are they with DeQuan now as QB1 just to get things rolling here?
Yeah, I think that, what we just talked about with Monterey, I think is true for the receiver core in general. I think there's been a glimpse here or there, or, you kind of have to break seasons into thirds, maybe halves, to kind of get real positive takeaways. And we're too talented for that. And, that time has now have to have been passed. And, the ability to make plays when it's a 50-50 ball, to make plays when you've got a guy beat to finish it, to make a guy miss in space. These are things that have been recruited towards and have been practice and rep towards, and we're seeing the dividends of that. We have to do that when it matters most for us to be the offense we need to be.
Dave, going into your first game of the year, what's the balance between Tarleton having played a game versus you seeing some tape of them now?
I think when you play a game, your pads are loosened up. I think the second time you put them on, they fit better. There's more of a comfort level there. I think when you put the pads on for the first time, you feel them, and it takes a series or two to get them where they rest on your shoulders real snug. I think when it's your first game, you communicate and you make mistakes and you find better ways to communicate and get lined up. When you're playing your first game, despite all your efforts, you have to kind of make that happen on the run. And so I think there's there's that on one side. On the other side, there's a new coordinator. There's a view of what they do. I think there's some injuries on their side, so that they're dealing with that. You can see how they adjust to that. And so I think the film perspective part really is overrated, though. Whether we see their film or they don't see ours, I think it's like how this game starts with all of the questions of last year, and the last year's game and a similar type setup and a similar line or whatever it is. It's important for us to start fast, whether, the perspective of the fans has been brought up. There's going to be guys on our team that are looking to see, hey, are we really that different? Is this really a new thing? And so for us to be able to get those pads on snug and tight and to get to popping right away, I think is important.
It's like being in that building right there. I guess it's been a week, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, in the past we had coaches that were in their rooms were in meeting rooms. And so when meetings would have to start, they would be kicked out of their room. And so now there's rooms for everybody. And I think really for some people, whereas that might have been a negative prior, to be all kind of on top of each other, now that everyone has their own room, they wish they could be back together again. They're all just in their office looking down the hallway, to see if where's the next living soul, such a big spot. And so I think there's enough room to focus and to really get to detail and teach. I think the walkthrough room we've used every day that we've had it. On with the video, you can put the video on the board, and then you can draw on the board. You can get pictures of the board after you draw on it, and the players can have it by the time they leave the meetings. And so there's a fair amount of innovation in there that just really makes you just a better teacher. And so that's all a positive. Yeah.
Quan Finn was named your starting quarterback. Why was he named the starting quarterback, and what does he bring to the team?
He gives us the best chance to win right now. There's really strong leadership with him. There's the ability to get in and out of protections with him. He can make the throws he needs to make, and then if stuff breaks down, he can make something out of nothing. And I think the ability to even add more in terms of quarterback run game is also there too. And so all that you have to defend and all you have to be particular of with him is that edge. They gave him the job.
Speaking of the run game, how do you envision this season going in terms of kind of running back by committee? Obviously, a lot of guys in there looking for carries.
One of the differences is just the tempo piece of it, and so the guys that are on the field when we're moving the ball are going to stay on the field, to keep their defensive personnel on the field. And so I think, whereas last year it'd be kind of on and off, there'll be less of that if we're in a rhythm and if we're moving it the way that we aim to move it. And so, and then I also think with that, there'll be different guys per series, depending on how, we've had series in practice where it's 13 plays, and, you're just getting to the 20-yard line. And so it's just way fast, a lot of energy expended. And so the ability to have depth at that position is a plus.
From what you've seen so far, how does this team stack up to the other ones you've coached well here?
It's a difficult question. There's a lot of talent on this team. There is a, I would probably call it an edge on this team that last year's team didn't have. And, right from the beginning, we started with ball on this team, football, and there's probably an advantage in that with this team over last year's team too. Just the detail and just all of the mechanics and the systems that go into ball. And this is my 1/11th, this is yours. So there's an advantage there too. I think we got to go out and get hit in the mouth and get back up and do all that to see what's what.
Coach,
Coach, as a seasoned head coach, you've been through your fair share of season openers.
Mhm.
Do you still get the thrill out of the season opener, and what are your thoughts about just where you are as far as that thrill goes? And hey, this is another season. Now we get to open the season. Your thoughts?
I'm excited for the team and the players that have just invested so much. You know, we talked about this the other day of there's guys that could have left and chose not to leave. There's transfers that, you know, have played a lot of ball and could have gone wherever they could have went to, and they chose here. There's coaches that read all the articles that we put out, and they know the situation here, and they chose to come here. You know, there's coaches that went through last year, had a chance to leave, and they stayed. And you know, you walk up and down the building, the beautiful new building that we have, and just the people that are there, and their heart and their commitment and their belief in what we're doing, and more important, how we're doing it. You want to win for them, you know.
Is that part of the sense of wonder of opening week?
I think so. I think belief, hope, determination, that's all in there.
Are you excited to call plays again? Is that something you're really looking forward to?
I don't know if I call it excited. You know, it's a lot of work. You know, there's it's a lot of work that goes into that, and I think when you're in it, it's like you're glad that it's over. So I think to do all the things to put us in the best position to play well on defense, I take way serious, and you know, we're in that process right now.
How did you feel
What did you
about
see from Tarleton from that first game? What did you see from that?
Skill. They're fast. The receivers are fast. They move their receivers around to get matchups. That big touchdown was they moved their guy around. The running back was really patient. You know, they do a great job with the cadence and the snap, and O-line's firing off, and the opposing defensive front hasn't moved yet, you know. And then the more frantic the defense gets, the more patient the running back is, and it's a jump cut, and it's 15, 20 yards, you know. And so it's that's a dangerous combination. I think the offensive line is physical. It's a veteran group. The center and the left tackle, I think particularly, are very good players. I think as a group, though, they all work together. And I think defensively, they've got a nickel, and they've got a defensive lineman that need attention, and you have to know where they're at and what shade they're playing and the whole thing. And so I think there's weapons there, and you could see it, especially in that first half of Saturday's game.
How are you feeling about the defensive line, the depth that you have there after suffering some injuries a year ago?
Yeah, and we've had some injuries too here this year too, you know, and so we're hoping to get some of those guys back here, at least one of them back, you know, and so yeah, there's some youth there. I would say similar to what we talked about with Ryan Lingell, and it's a young guy that's kind of off to the side, not in the mix, and you have to kind of fight, and you've got to go beyond. You have to do what you're not used to. You have to sacrifice what you haven't even thought was a thing to sacrifice to kind of get in the mix. And then you get beat up, and then you stand up, and you fight some more, and then you're the guy, you know. Ryan's done that. We've got a few guys on defense that are trying to do that. I think Cooper Lance is in that mix, is doing that right now, trying to keep weight and gain weight. And Jackie Marshall is a guy that, you know, is an old guy that hasn't really played because of injury and everything. He's very, very talented. And, you know, you want the best for all these guys. And so you can talk to them about it, you can coach them and lead them, but they have to do it, you know, the day-to-day. And right now they are. And so all of that's good to see. You know, we got to do it in a game, though. We got to do it when it's 3rd and 2. And so that remains to be seen.
Coach, you talked about the roster changes, coaching changes, questions being answered. So for you personally, the biggest question that you had about this team, what are you hoping to see answered in game 1?
When I talked to the team this morning is that, again, all these different pieces, all this stuff, and like when you go through it, like we did today, this morning, and tomorrow morning, and all that, is that there's a certain feel that goes to this stuff. Like you walk into a room, you can feel it. The guys are locked in, guys are on the edge of their seats. You can feel it. You can feel it if someone's just like going through the motions. You can feel if someone's thinking about something else. You can feel if someone's kind of there because they need to be, or, you know. So I go, man, we've done all these things. We've been through all this stuff, and now here we are. I want this week to feel right. You know, if it's not, I'm probably going to lose all my stuff. On you. Let's not do that, man. This should feel right. We've invested too much. We've come to this point. And today felt great, you know. And it's been that way, really, since winter. And so if we can finish off today and then stack it tomorrow and then so on and so forth, good for us.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.